balance? Like, what do you think is perfect, like a perfect
Like, I
balance
think,
for it?
like, I'm 100% like aware. I know when I went too far with things, like, and it's like shameful. It's like, really, Marina, like that was ridiculous. So like, for example, the Caitlyn thing, like when the play was over and everyone was like, that was obvious that my emotions of us losing and losing and losing, and then she's like low-key punking her team on top of it. Like, that was too far. Like, that was too much.
That right there is what accountability looks like when it's 6 months too late. Marina Mabrey just admitted on camera that her cheap shot on Caitlin Clark during the playoffs was too far and shameful. But here's what makes this fascinating. She's not just admitting she messed up. She's explaining exactly why she did it. And her reasoning reveals something way bigger than one shove in one game. Because this wasn't about basketball. This was about emotion, about frustration, about watching someone dominate your team while your season falls apart. And the question we need to ask is simple. Is this genuine remorse, or is Marina trying to clean up her image before free agency hits?
All right, but how about Marina Mabrey takes that shot and then goes across the court?
Caitlin Clark going for the ball, barely touches Marina Mabrey. Being the flopper and the flailer that Marina Mabrey is, she sells the contact, falls to the floor, and gets up ready to do something. So you know from this day forward, Marina Mabrey's been plotting to get back at Caitlin Clark. Oh yeah, folks, we don't forget.
Let's go back to the actual incident, because context matters here. September 25th, 2024. Connecticut Sun versus Indiana Fever in the playoffs. The Fever are rolling. Caitlin Clark is cooking. And the Sun are getting embarrassed on their home court. Watch what happens after the whistle blows. Clark goes for a loose ball, barely makes contact with Mabrey, and Marina sells it like she got hit by a truck. Falls to the floor, pops back up ready to fight. That's the moment right there. That's when Marina decided she was getting payback. Not for anything that happened in that play. For everything that had been building all season long. The losses, the highlight reels, the constant comparisons. And she was going to make Caitlin pay for it.
Watch when Caitlin Clark is trying to create some space. It looked like she just got hit in the eye there.
Ooh, and Marina Mabrey. I missed that one, Idona.
Oh, I missed that one too.
You guys missed that one? Oh, you guys are just dumb? Can I say that? Yeah, you guys are just dumb.
Watch when Caitlin Clark is trying to create some space. It looked like she just got hit in the eye there.
Ooh, and Marina Mabrey. I missed that one.
Now watch the actual cheap shot. Caitlin just got poked in the eye seconds earlier. She's literally blinded, trying to create space, and Marina comes from behind with a two-handed shove to the back. Whistle's already blown. Play is dead. Clark's back is turned. And Mabrey plants both hands and shoves her to the ground. The announcers completely missed it in real time. Oh, I missed that one, they said.
Yeah, you did.
But Fever fans didn't miss it. The arena didn't miss it. And the internet definitely didn't miss it. Marina got booed viciously for the rest of that game. And those boos followed her every single time Connecticut played in Indiana after that.
And Suge, like, that was perfect. Because it was just enough that it, like, fueled me and the team. But then on the flip side, like, when we were in Indiana and it was, everyone's booing us. Like, it feels like shit. We end up losing by, like, 25. And it's like, Marina, that's your fault, buddy. Like.
Damn, get it in back. No wonder why everybody hates Caitlin Clark. You find yourself on the floor with CC22. Yeah, you're most likely going to end up getting embarrassed. You're most likely going to end up getting on the tail end of a few highlight reels.
Here's where Marina's explanation gets interesting. She says her emotions about losing took over, that Caitlin was low-key pumping her team and that pushed her over the edge. But let's be clear about what actually happened in that moment. Caitlin had just gotten injured. She took a finger to the eye, she was walking away from the play, and Marina shoved her anyway. That's not heat of the moment basketball. That's not two players battling for position. That's calculated frustration being taken out on someone who can't see it coming. And Marina's trying to frame it like Caitlin was showing them up, when the reality is Caitlin was dominating them on the scoreboard, and Marina couldn't handle it.
Sorry. So you were losing, you were getting punked, and you said, oh, you know what? Let me just check CC in the back. You know what? I'm not buying it. I'm not buying it, Marina. You want to know why? Because you have a little bit of a pattern, Marina. You know what I mean? You have a little bit of a pattern doing these types of things. Before we get into the internet's reaction of this clip, particularly Marina Mabrey getting fried on the internet, do you guys remember this? Marina Mabrey trying to
But this isn't Marina's first rodeo with questionable plays. Remember when she tried to throw a spinning back fist at Aja Wilson? Wins up, spins around with a closed fist, and Aja blocks it clean. That clip went viral for all the wrong reasons. Or the multiple times she went after Caitlyn during the regular season, with hard fouls and unnecessary contact. There's a pattern here. When Marina gets frustrated, when her team is losing, when she feels disrespected, she lashes out physically. And she's admitting that now. She's saying she knows when she goes too far. The problem is, she only seems to realize it went too far after the consequences hit, after the boos, after the backlash, after it potentially affects her next contract.
Me and the team. But then on the flip side, like when we were in Indiana and it was everyone's booing us, like it feels like shit. We end up losing by like 25. And it's like, Marina, that's your fault, buddy.
The timing of this admission is what makes people skeptical. Marina's heading into free agency. She's looking for a new contract, possibly with a new team, and suddenly she's doing interviews talking about how shameful her behavior was and how she went too far. That's convenient. Because back when it happened, the WNBA old guard defended her. Social media personalities who didn't like Caitlyn's popularity made excuses for it. It's just physical basketball, they said. Rookies need to learn, they said. Nobody in Marina's circle was telling her she crossed a line. But now that it's affecting her reputation and potentially her earning power, suddenly it's time for the apology tour.
Pattern, Marina. You know what I mean? You have a little bit of a pattern doing these types of things. Before we get into the internet's reaction of this clip, particularly Marina Mabrey getting fried on the internet, do you guys remember this? Marina Mabrey trying to clock AB? Oh, indeed. What are we doing? Spinning back fist, Marina Mabrey. Boom.
And let's talk about the excuse itself. We were losing and losing and losing. Okay, so your solution was to cheap shot the player who was beating you. That's not competitive fire. That's poor sportsmanship. Every team in the league dealt with Caitlyn Clark this season. Most of them lost to her. Angel Reese's Chicago Sky went 13-27, and you didn't see her shoving people in the back after whistles. The Sun finished 28-12, made the playoffs, and had a legitimate chance to compete for a championship. But Marina's acting like they were some struggling franchise that couldn't catch a break. No mate, they were a good team that ran into a better player. And Marina couldn't handle being on the wrong end of the highlights.
Best player. That's kind of a crazy take. She's nuts. She knocked down a player who was blinded with her back turned with the whistle blown, and she doesn't think that was a flagrant 2. Nasty work. Make an all-star team, bum. Damn.
Here's what this really comes down to. Marina Mabrey is trying to have it both ways. She wants credit for admitting she was wrong, but she also wants us to understand why she did it, as if the circumstances justify the action. She wants to acknowledge it was shameful, but then immediately explains how Caitlyn was low-key pumping her team like that makes it okay. That's not accountability. That's damage control with a side of excuse-making. Real accountability would sound different. It would be I was frustrated with myself and my team's performance, and I took it out on someone who didn't deserve it. There's no excuse for what I did, but that's not what we got. We got I went too far, but here's why I went too far. And the internet isn't buying it. The replies to this clip are brutal. She's only saying this because her name is a plague in Indiana right now. Someone's trying to clean up her image before free agency. Too late to matter, and they're not wrong. When you spend an entire season being physical with someone, culminating in a cheap shot that gets you booed out of an arena, you don't get to walk it back with one interview 6 months later. The comparison to Odyssey Sims and Angel Reese is perfect. When Sims clotheslined Reese out of the air, the freedom fighters stayed quiet because Sims is part of the old guard. When Marina shoves Caitlyn, suddenly it's just basketball and rookies need to toughen up. But the second someone from the old guard gets the same treatment, it's a national emergency and calls for suspensions. The double standard has been obvious all season. What Marina doesn't seem to understand is that Caitlyn Clark fans remember everything. They remember the hard fouls. They remember the trash talk. They remember the media personalities who defended the physical play, and they remember who stayed silent when it mattered. You don't get to rebuild that bridge with one apologetic interview. The most telling part of Marina's explanation is when she talks about the consequences. She mentions getting booed in Indiana and her team losing by 25 points. That's your fault, buddy, she admits. But notice what she doesn't mention: any concern for how Caitlyn felt, any acknowledgement that she shoved an injured player from behind, any recognition that her actions could have made an injury worse. It's all about how the consequences affected Marina and her team. That's why this feels hollow. Because genuine remorse focuses on the person you hurt, not on how the backlash affected you. Marina's upset that she got booed and her team lost. She's not upset that she potentially injured someone or crossed a line of sportsmanship. Those are fundamentally different things. And let's address the elephant in the room. Would Marina be saying any of this if Caitlyn Clark wasn't the biggest star in women's basketball? If this was a cheap shot on a role player that nobody cared about, would we be getting this apology? Or is this specifically because Marina knows her reputation with Fever fans affects her marketability and her next contract? The WNBA has a decision to make about what kind of league it wants to be. Does it want to be a league where veterans can physically intimidate rookies without consequences? Where jealousy and frustration justify cheap shots? Where apologies only come when your bank account might be affected? Or does it want to be a league that protects its stars and holds players accountable in real time, not 6 months later? Because here's the thing, Marina Mabrey is a talented player. She averaged 14.4 points per game this season. She can shoot, she can create, she can play defense. She doesn't need to resort to this kind of play to be effective. But when the frustration builds and the losses pile up, this is what we get. And one interview doesn't erase a pattern of behavior. The broader issue is what this reveals about the cultural divide in the WNBA. There's a segment of players, media, and fans who resented Caitlyn Clark's popularity from day one. They saw her as a threat to the established order, to the players who had been grinding in the league for years without the same attention. And that resentment manifested in physical play, in dismissive comments, in a general unwillingness to embrace what Clark was bringing to the league. Marina's cheap shot was just the most visible example of that resentment. But it wasn't the only one. The dark side comments from Kelsey Mitchell, the hard fouls from Chennedy Carter, the media personalities who spent the season criticizing Clark's fans instead of celebrating what she was accomplishing. It all added up to an environment where going after Caitlyn was not only acceptable, it was almost encouraged. And now that the season's over and the ratings are in, and the attendance numbers are undeniable, suddenly everyone wants to walk it back. Suddenly it's time for reflection and admission and talking about going too far. But the damage is done. The fans remember, the grudges are held, and Marina Mabrey trying to save face 6 months later isn't going to change that. So here's my question for you. Do you believe Marina's apology is genuine, or is this just image rehabilitation before free agency? Because I'm skeptical. I think she's sorry she got caught, sorry she got booed, sorry it might affect her next contract. But I don't think she's sorry she did it. Drop your thoughts in the comments. I want to know if you're buying what Marina's selling, or if you think this is too little too late.